Hey, welcome back to another episode of The Drunken Cryptid.
Was these two globes. I don't know how to describe them. And I stood up there and looked at them, and it's like,
I just couldn't hold it anymore, and I was like, oh my gosh, I was a chupacabra. I was so excited.
They were referring to Bigfoot.
There are voices in the darkness. Reason why this show is called Drunken Cryptid.
And welcome back to another episode of The Drunken Cryptids. I do want to say thank you to everybody out there that's been liking and commenting and sharing our content. It's greatly appreciated. We see you out there, so kudos. Thank you very much. Real quick shout out, though, to blademedia.com. Dylan over there at Blade Media. They're the ones who set up the website for us. He did a great job. Dylan's great. He's local. He's a small town guy, and he's just his own small business. And I'm all a fan about supporting small businesses, and Dylan did a great job. Check out our website if you want an example, or just go to his website at blademedia.com. Blade is BLAYED media.com. Dylan, man, I appreciate it. And, of course, I got to give a shout-out to my team. I'm not where I'm at today, and the success that I have today isn't just due to me. I've been truly blessed to have a good team that surrounds me. I can't say enough about them. If you listen to the show, I do talk about them, and I brag about them. And to my team out there, you guys are amazing, and thank you so very much for the support. It's a great ride, and we're only getting crazier, you guys. So buckle up and have a good time. Events coming up, though. I am going to be speaking at the Ozark, in Ozark, Arkansas, at the town hall meeting on February 8th, put on by the Arkansas Bigfoot Cartel. We're going to be at the Paradise Pizza there in Ozark. It's going to be a great show. I'm going to be there. Well, for the town hall meeting, I'm going to be there. Todd Neese is going to be there. Again, the Arkansas Bigfoot Cartel is putting it on. There will be expeditions going on that weekend as well, so you'll have a chance to partake. There's a campground right there by there. If you need more information, feel free to email us. If you want to camp out and go on an expedition, go ahead, do that. We'll get you taken care of. We get all the information you need. Also, the big news is that we are going to do a live show on April 5th with the Cryptids of the Corn guys from Ohio. They're coming here to Arkansas. We're going to be at the Old Bart's at Diamond Bear Brewery here in North Little Rock. It's going to be a great time. It's on April 5th. It's going to be from 5 p.m. until 9 p.m. We're going to have the full menu there at Old Bart's. You can get a Drunken Cryptid cheeseburger. You want to try it, I promise. We're going to do a show. They're doing a show. It's a meet and greet as well. You get a chance to ask us questions. Doing the episode, you'll be able to ask questions as well, so you'll be able to be on the show possibly, which will be a lot of fun. Come out, hang out with us. It's kid-friendly, so bring the kids. We're all going to be there. My team's going to be there. Justin and Jay are going to be there from the Cryptids of Corn. And there might be some other podcasters coming through as well to hang out. So you never know who's going to be there. I do have a special guest coming, and you definitely want to get a chance to meet and greet him. I can promise you that. Other than that, that's what we have for the rest of the year. Other expeditions I will be going on later on as the year goes, and once we get more, dates solidified and everything, I'll keep you guys up to date on. But again, I do want to say thank you so very much for sharing everything and liking us and following us. I know the intros can go kind of long, so I'll cut it short here in a second. But just remember, we do have a Patreon as well. The Patreon does help us out. That's how we keep this thing going. I do love the show. There's other episodes on there. There's 3 different tiers. The links are posted below if you want to go ahead and become a Patreon member. You get a chance to visit with us more, doing Discord, stuff like that. We'll have a lot of fun. You might even get a chance to hang out at the tavern, but you'll definitely get a chance to go on some expeditions with us if you're close by. If not, if we're in an area and you're there, you're going to get a chance to do it. Again, thank you to the team. Thank you to everybody liking and sharing us. However, if you've had an encounter, and it doesn't matter, you may think it may be nothing, you may think it may be something, email us, drunkencryptids@gmail.com. shoot us an email. We'll go over it. We'll reach out to you, talk to you. Um, we get you on the show. The more content we get out there, the more people that are going to listen to the show, the more people we can reach, and your story may help somebody out. I love hearing that this person's episode helped them out with this issue or made them feel better about what they had gone through. So you have no idea that your encounter may actually help somebody out. Just saying. And to the fans out there, you guys have been loyal all the way through from day one. I appreciate you. I see it. I enjoy seeing you guys at the events. I do. Eli, shout out to you right there, buddy. I just want to say thanks again. It was a pleasure meeting with you and talking with you. You and me are going to talk some more off air about some of your encounters and such. And the same thing, if you guys have had an encounter and you don't want to go on the air, email it to us. We'll talk about it. We'll do an episode based upon your encounter. We'll just kick around some ideas, kind of like a roundtable thing. There will be some more roundtable discussions coming up. I can promise you that with some other podcasters. We have that in the works. There'll be some more meet and greets in the area as well. We just had a great one recently. It was a lot of fun. Gonna definitely be doing that again. So keep listening. Keep checking the Facebook page for all the dates of everything. And yeah, tell you guys what. Let's get on with the show. I get asked sometimes when I get done squatching, I'm out in the woods, going paranormal hunting, looking for monsters, how do I like to relax? How do I reload? I like to go down the old bars at Dogman Bear. They're down here at 600 North Broadway Street in North Little Rock, right up the street from Dickey-Stevens Stadium. I enjoy the Mac Daddy, some macaroni and cheese, a little brisket, everything. I like to have a cold one, have a good time, relax. The staff is great. They're friendly. They're outgoing. Paul, the chef, is going to make sure that you're going to need a doggy bag on the way home. He's going to load you up. Baker and Bart, the owners, two great guys. You got to go down there and meet them at least. Go down there, check them out. They also allow you to reserve the back room. You can have it for private parties and functions. You can give them a call at 501-406-7819. Again, that's 501-406-7819. Tell them the Drunken Cryptid sent you. Hey, everybody, welcome back. I've got another great show for us tonight. I met Nick a couple of weeks ago at the Censored Monkey meet and greet that we did. It was a good time up there. Some people I got a chance to meet, others I did not, and for that I do apologize. We are doing another one coming up soon. Fred is going to be setting everything up. But again, to the staff up there at the Censored Monkey, y'all did a great job. I appreciate it. You made us feel really welcomed. So, but tonight I've got Nick coming on, and Nick is going to be, Nick, you've had a lot of experiences, haven't you?
Yeah, quite a few.
Yeah.
Sure.
So, I mean, yeah. So Nick's had a lot. He is going to be sharing some of these encounters with us that he's had. We're going to discuss them. I don't know which ones we're going to be talking about, so, which is fun for me because I kind of like coming in just a little blindsided, a little blind on it, because to me it just makes it just as easy to listen to as y'all out there listening to it at. So, but again, Nick, man, welcome to the show. Yeah. How's it going?
Thank you. I appreciate that, and thanks for the opportunity to, allow that platform to allow people like myself to share our stories.
No,
beautiful.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that, and that and that's. And that means a lot, because that's what I want to be able to do is, as we were talking, off air before we started recording, this is your legacy here. This episode tonight, mm-hmm. This is your legacy that's going to carry on. And I think that mm-hmm. a lot of our storytelling and everything and our old traditions are gone. We used to sit around and listen, mm-hmm. To our grandparents tell stories.
Right.
Right. And so this is just the same, similar kind of way, but just different. Now it's there. And
this is the modern day version.
Yeah, I agree. It is the modern day version, which is kind of like, the premises of, I like the campfire setting that I do. Mm-hmm. Just having a conversation, just relaxing and, and talking. And obviously it's a judgment-free zone. It's a drama-free zone, and it's a safe place. This is for you to open up and just get it out there, because I'll be honest with you, you don't know whether your encounters or your experiences, somebody listening right now can be going, oh, that happened to me, or, oh, I'm not alone.
Right. And that's what a lot of people need. is that sounding board. So they're, as they do research or as they just happenstance to come across this podcast, they'll hear so many similarities, and it does make us feel more connected, that maybe we're not so crazy.
Yeah, and the beautiful part about it is that I've got a guy named Todd, not Todd Neese, Todd Guthrie, and he's done 2 episodes with me, and he's up in. If I screw this up, Todd, don't get mad at me. I want to say Indiana, so
Hmm.
I want to say it's one of the it's India. No, not India. It's Indiana. It's got to be Indiana. And
Hmm.
he said the good thing about the internet was he would never gotten a chance to meet me per se, and use my fingers in parentheses because we haven't
Yeah, yeah,
we haven't personally physically met.
right.
We'll text back and forth every once in a
But
while.
to just connect.
Yeah, and he was able to get his encounters out, and as he said, he felt kind of crazy because he felt kind of alone dealing with this
Hmm.
stuff. And he's an older
Hmm.
gentleman, and I say older.
Hmm.
I mean, listen, I'm almost 50, so anybody who's like 51 to me is older. Sorry.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Right, right.
But he's an
Yeah.
older gentleman, and he's had a lifetime full of experiences, and I was happy to be able to provide a space for him to be able to share those.
Absolutely. It's a beautiful thing. It really is, because the internet allows us to connect with like-minded individuals from around the globe.
Yeah,
And
see,
um, and
the
then we, and we
internet's not
realize
all.
the world is a lot more stranger than we thought.
Yeah, the internet's not all just cat videos, everybody.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
So, all right.
Yes.
Well, Nick, man, I mean, I mean, you already know how the show works, so I'm going to go ahead and turn the show over to you and take it away.
Okay. All right. Well, I appreciate the intro, and I appreciate, the connection of like-minded for sure. I guess for me, my thoughts on that, when you have a lifetime of supernatural experiences, you just can't take that away from someone. It leaves an imprint in their soul, but it's for a reason. It's for a bigger reason. It prepares you, for the great work of your life in many, many ways. And, so it promotes that understanding to things that are so misunderstood and so talked down and ridiculed. So there's a lot of strange truth out there, but there's a bigger picture at work. And the more we can connect with like-minded individuals, the more those kinds of puzzle pieces will come together. So I really, really appreciate the platform that you provide here. Awesome.
Well,
So.
I appreciate that, and you're right. I mean, there's there's no experts out there, and I don't
Hmm.
care what anybody says. If anybody, I'll say this all day long. Anybody claims to be an expert, like I'm a
Hmm.
Bigfoot expert, I'm a ghost
Yeah,
expert, I'm
yeah,
a gnome expert, I'm an expert on the Loch Ness
right,
monster, which I think the Loch Ness
right.
monster is salamanders. But
Mhm.
anybody claims to be an expert on anything.
I haven't heard that one.
Well, we're not in
That's
Scotland,
pretty
so I
good.
mean, if we were in Scotland, we probably have a few of them.
Yeah.
you know. But now, what I will say though is that somebody an expert in is this. So let's say I'm an expert. Somebody's an expert in their area. Prime example, in their
Uh-huh.
own backyard. So if
Hmm.
somebody's having encounters in their backyard and they're doing tests and they're doing experiments with these creatures, whatever it may
Hmm.
be, they're an expert at that area. They're an expert
Yep.
right there at that spot.
Exactly.
But what
Yep.
we're dealing with, I mean, it could, I mean, there's so many camps when it comes to
Yeah.
Sasquatch,
There really is. There
you
really
know,
is.
and and I'm not saying anybody's right. I'm not saying anybody's wrong. I like to say I'm right in the middle
Hmm.
because, with my own encounters that I've had, and I mean, and I really hope, and because the documentary that I was filmed in September, searching for Sasquatch with Jason Kinsey, um, we had some interesting stuff happen to us on our night investigation, and
Hmm.
I'm really hoping it happened. I mean, one of them happened to me,
Hmm.
and I'm really hoping we caught it on camera because they had the camera on me, but they didn't know if they were recording or not. And
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
I have to be tight-lipped about that until the episode
Sure.
comes out
Sure.
because I don't want to ruin anything for the show and have any spoilers for the
Right.
show at all. So that's
Right.
just going to be a lot of fun. But whatever happened that
What a
night,
deeply personal experience, though.
yeah, yeah. I mean, it's it's to me it's another Sasquatch encounter. It's another
Hmm.
thing that happened. So
Hmm.
there are no real experts out there, and I love to be able to theorize and
Hmm.
open up and say, hey, well, I think that Sasquatch is actually you aliens, and he's riding around a UFO with Elvis and Tupac. And I'm going to agree with you because that's your reality, and I'm going to
Yeah,
come back and
yeah.
say, I have no idea what it is. I think it's a physical, spiritual entity that has probably been on the earth as long as mankind has.
Hmm. Right, right, right. Absolutely.
And someone
And
can say,
there's so
yep,
many things like that. And when you have a personal experience like that, it's like it's so unbelievable. You really have to be tight-lipped, especially without proof. That's just the programming and conditioning of our culture, the scientific culture, I guess.
oh, well, me, I don't care. I'm not tight lipped. The only reason I'm tight lipped right now about what happened on the Searching for Sasquatch episode
Hmm.
is because it
Yeah,
hasn't aired yet. And so when it airs, I'm going to talk about it all day long. I'm going to tell everybody, oh,
yeah,
you got to go
yeah,
watch this. Check this out. You got to watch it.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
So,
I feel you.
yeah,
I feel you.
it was a lot of fun.
So
So,
many people are so suppressed, when it comes to, things like that, or philosophies or theories on supernatural things that they've experienced, but they just block it out so much because they've been programmed to, you know?
well, you're right. And we were discussing this earlier. I think that the supernatural has been taken out of church. And that's part of it. I
Yeah,
think that social media has killed it in a lot of
yeah.
ways. Uh,
Oh, yeah.
I mean, the internet is flooded with fakes and real. Is to where it's hard to shuffle. And everybody's like, "Well, I want proof. I want proof." So when you post
Yeah,
proof of what you've seen or what you got a picture of, you're attacked. And so
yeah,
people don't want to
yeah.
do that anymore. And then there's others
Right,
who are like me and just kind of give them the middle finger, letting them know that they're number one. And I know what I
yeah.
saw and I know what I encountered.
Hmm.
And yeah, you sitting behind your computer or your phone is not, and making comments is not going to change my mind. I mean,
Right.
it's not. I know what it was, and you can call me a liar, and you can call me this, you can call me that all you want, but
Hmm.
I didn't
Hmm.
remember seeing you there. You know,
Right, right.
so it's just I saw this meme last year, and it made absolutely sense, and it was um, the meme was, well, I bet those those let's see, what was it? I'll screw it up. I know I will. I bet those veteran oh goodness, what was it? Yeah, like I bet that veteran just not what was it? It's about being the benefits. Yeah, I bet those veteran benefits are nice. And and the comment underneath it was, yeah, recruiting office was open to everybody. You know,
Uh-huh.
and here's the thing too,
Right.
though, you're not gonna have any of these experiences or these encounters if you just sit at home. If you're not
Hmm.
out in the woods and if you're not out there and you're not exploring nature, you're never gonna have an encounter.
Right,
And
right.
most of the people who'll tell you, well, I've never seen anything, are the people who grew up in the suburbs who maybe went to a Boy Scout camp.
Hmm.
So,
Hmm.
anyways, I digress.
Yeah.
All right, I'll rant on about
Yes,
this for
very, very.
I'll rant on about that
Oh,
all night
yeah.
long.
Oh, dude, yeah, we can go hours for sure. Yeah, and that's so true, and just that personal experience, I mean, it shapes you because I believe that nothing happens without a reason. Whether it's the frequency that you're tuned into naturally as the way that you're made, the way that you're built. Some people have gifts. Some people, just have a natural tendency towards understanding the supernatural. I think it's in Corinthians when it talks about, the Holy Spirit and the gifts that we are all, uniquely have, but not all of these are discovered gifts. But nonetheless, when your life path is aligning you with such supernatural experiences and such a formation of the actual experiences that you've had that, as I said earlier, they put an imprint on your soul. They change your frequency a little bit. They change your vibration of thinking. And it just, I don't know, in some ways, it tunes you in more to, the possibilities that are out there. So it gives you more of an open mind, in many, many ways, as long as it doesn't like the trauma, kind of can also have the opposite effect where it just makes you go more inward because the trauma of the paranormal experience you had was so impactful that it just like pushes you right into your shell, you know. So it can have the adverse effect as well, but that's the world we live in, you know.
Well, you're
So
right, and the thing is too is that doing this stuff and meeting folks and everything. There's so Sasquatch encounters affect people in a couple of different ways. One, they never want to go to
hmm
the woods again. They're freaked out. They don't want to see it again. They're
right,
done. They're done.
yep,
They're
yep,
done. I
yep,
mean, it leaves that kind of trauma on them. And then there's the others who
hmm
are like, then the other group is like, okay, I saw something. I don't know what it was, but I'm curious. Okay, can I see it again?
yep,
Maybe,
yep.
possibly. And then there's others, the other side is also like, let's go again. I'm now
Yeah.
obsessed.
Right,
And
right. That was like a roller coaster ride. Give me one with a thrill.
exactly.
Give me
And
a thrill.
well, there's on the Crypts of the Corn podcast, they interviewed this guy who's in a band called Senior Pinch, and
hmm
he has a song about Sasquatch, and
hmm
it's a guy who's obsessed looking for Sasquatch,
hmm
and it's great. It's great. The song
hmm
name is like I'm gonna have to let me Google that up real quick. Senior Pinch, because I want to give him props on the song before I mess it up. And
Absolutely.
yeah, but they're great. It's Gone Squatchin'. That's the name of the song. It's called Gone Squatchin' by Senior Pinch,
hmm
and it's true. If you've ever been out investigating and going into the woods to look, this song nails it.
hmm
It fits the theme to it perfectly. So, but you're
hmm
right though. I mean, these encounters do leave they leave a mark on folks, good and or
They really
bad.
do. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Well, let's get into yours.
Okay, okay. Well, I guess I'll start from the beginning, you know, because every path, you know, has its starting point, and I guess I will start. I was up in Virginia where I was raised and born and raised, and there's a little town called Prince George County, just a little bit south east of Richmond. And this area was heavily laden with a lot of the Civil War battles that took place. And before that, a lot of Indian wars between opposing tribes took place. And so that area became, I guess, the atmosphere, for lack of a better word, of that area became so embedded with blood, literally. You know, like I would go into my backyard and the woods, you know, where I grew up at would connect like 8 different counties. You know, it was just this massive sprawl of old woodland. And, you know, you had your different sections of that. You know, some areas were like more swampy, some areas were, you know, hilly. But, you know, there was like these cannonball holes, you know, from the actual wars, cannonball craters, you know, created in the land. There was a very significant incident in the Civil War that was literally where the blue coats had gone and dug a tunnel up underneath the Confederate camp and planted all kinds of explosives, and literally created what is known today as the crater. It's in Petersburg, Virginia, which was a neighboring county to where I live. So the premise of me saying that is the atmosphere that was created was tremendous suffering, tremendous death, and I believe those kinds of imprints on the land, you know, they kind of set the stage for supernatural experiences to occur. And I say that too because as a kid, growing up on that kind of land, you know, you would see a lot of apparitions physically manifesting before you. Um, and so the thing that I wanted to kind of get into today, I guess, was an experience that I had. I might have been like maybe 6 years old. And I had two older brothers there at the time, and the parents were out at a bar. And so that particular night was like any other night. We lived in a rancher style home, so it was like a big rectangle. and had a garage on one end and the bedrooms and stuff on the other. And the um, the elevation of the windows was roughly about 7 foot up off the ground, especially at the back part of the house where the bedrooms were. And I say that because the experience that I had that night, it was one of those things where it defies logic as much as it produces the supernatural hairs on the back of your neck to stand up. Um, so the night was pretty commonplace, nothing special about the night until we had a lot of dogs, a lot of labs, Samoyeds, Huskies, things like that. And so they started going crazy outside, and we would literally hear a distinct howl off, like almost in the distance, but it was close. But it had that echoing kind of effect to it, and it just pierced you. You're like, "What the hell was that?" And so this happened. The dogs were going crazy for probably like 10, 15 minutes, just barking, barking, going crazy. And, then they just went quiet. Like you couldn't even hear crickets chirping. It just went deathly quiet. Um, and it was like that for a couple of minutes. And we knew it was odd. We just felt the energy in the air was just different. And then we heard that etheric howling again. So, at this point, we're making sure all the doors are locked and that kind of stuff, and closing all the drapes, in the front part of the house. And, we were just kind of like just scared out of our minds. But at the same time, we're just kind of literally listening and having quiet conversation amongst ourselves. And then we noticed this one of our doors, entryways to the house, the knob on the door would kind of shake, and we're like, oh shit, so my brothers, my two older brothers, they went and grabbed a rifle, and a shotgun. And I think at that time I grabbed like a big butcher knife or something. So as the night progressed, when we heard that door handle shaking, we called the cops. So the cops came out, they walked around the house. He said that he did notice some rustling in the wood line, but it was way off and it appeared to be some kind of an animal. So, he didn't really do anything about that. But the house perimeter itself was safe. If we had any other experiences to let him know, he'll keep a officer stationed, right there on the road that we lived on. So it was quiet for like 20 or 30 minutes after that. And the officer did also, when he got there, we went out into the garage at the one end of the house and found all of our dogs. I think it was like 6 or 7 pretty good sized dogs, all cuddled up and scuddied up under stuff inside the garage itself. They were just terrified. And so it was like, oh shit, that's something major for these kinds of animals to be in that state of mind.
Oh yeah.
So, so, that passed about 20, 30 minutes after, we heard that howl again and it was really, really close. And then, um, we had this, patio door, had the couple of steps down once you go out the back of it. And so the height of that door was an easy 7 foot. And, and this was right on the living room that we were all camped at, for the night. And the curtains were drawn, so they were closed. So, we were like, okay, that we started hearing these like claw marks, scratching of something trying to get in. And it was like clawing down that patio door. Um, so needless to say, there's a lot of terror that came with that. Um, so I'm like, okay, we're gonna sleep up here in the living room. And so I went back to my bedroom, the back of the house, and I was just gonna grab like a pillow and a blanket or something. And so it was supposed to be just a quick in and out kind of thing. Well, I went in, and as I was going out, and I turned to turn the light switch off, um, I looked in my window, and the curtains were open in my window. And when I turned to look out my window, that's when I saw, like literally from the neck up, it was, I would describe it as like an albino wolf head. It had just glowing red eyes, and it was like you were caught in a trance. You know, when you first glanced at it, and then you just got stuck, and you couldn't pull away. It was very hypnotic, I guess, in the terror that it produced. Um, so, I literally peed my pants. Being 6 years old, I'm like, holy shit, what is this? And so I guess what seemed like a minute or two, or not even that long, I know, but it just seemed like it was so much longer. I literally just ran down the hallway and slid up under the couch in the living room. And then one of my older brothers, he had kind of heard what was going on. I don't even remember screaming, but he said he heard me scream. Um, so he went back there as I was going down the hallway, and he said he saw it too. And so, that night, I guess, um, like we were talking earlier about the imprint, that it leaves on your soul. That night kind of started me in this path, I guess, of, learning how to defend yourself from like supernatural forces and things like that. So it was one of those things that, to this day, when I go back to that experience, you still feel that tingle of just pure terror because it was such a deep terror. So yeah, but that's pretty much, the what I would call like a werewolf kind of experience that I had. So changed my life for sure, for
Wow.
sure.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah,
I have some
yeah.
questions.
Mhm.
Okay,
Of
so
course you do.
yeah, oh yeah, you answered that one. Okay, you were talking. Okay, so let's go to the beginning. You guys said you heard a howl.
Yeah,
So I mean, we're talking like a canine howl. I mean,
it was like a wolf howl, but it was more etheric. I don't really know how to explain that. It almost had this. I mean, it definitely had a supernatural quality to it. You know, um, it was, I don't know, straight out of these, maybe these werewolf movies. Some of these werewolf movies you hear that kind of thing, and it was just like an etheric, I don't know, like an echoing, and it's like one of those things, one of these sounds that you can't ever forget. I mean, it literally, the sound alone left an imprint. you know, much less the vision of it, but the sound alone was just, I don't know. Like I said, if I could imagine one sound that would induce a like a supernatural kind of demonic terror in the core of your soul, it would be this.
okay,
So
all right, I get that. I was just kind of curious if it was like a canine or if you could. Have you heard it since then or anything close to
no,
it?
no, no, I have not. No, I have not.
Okay, and you guys
I
said
have
you
not.
heard it for a couple of nights before this happened,
No, 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 no.
or this is just one night.
This all happened in one night. Yes.
One night. Okay, so summarize. So you guys hear the howl. Um, Kind of creepy, kind of off the distance. The dogs are acting kind of skittish. Then all of a sudden the doorknob starts to turn,
Yes.
and so the brothers are smart. They call the cops. Cops show
Mm-hmm.
up. They check the property out. Obviously, that's what they're supposed to do. And
Mm-hmm.
they said it was all good. But you said that they seen something moving off in the wood line or something.
Yeah, that was secondhand of what my brother had said because he was older, so I was pretty much inside when him and the police officer were talking, and yeah, that's what the police officer told him.
Okay. All right. So let's go to the encounter real quick. All right.
Hmm.
So you described it as kind of a albino canine.
Yeah.
Okay, so when you say albino, was it white? Was it gray?
Yes. Yes. It was white.
It was white
It was
fur.
pure. Yep. Pure white. Yep. And then it had those red eyes.
Okay, so I mean, can you did it have a snout, pointy ears?
Yes. Yes. It had the snout, the classic. Not as long of a snout, like pronounced as it would be on a dog. Probably about, I would say, half snout in comparison to that. And the ears were pretty much covered. It didn't have like triangle ears sticking up top of his head. I didn't really see any ears per se. I don't remember those. I just mainly remember the actual face itself. I mean, it was almost like you get tunnel vision, and you can really only see what's in that circle.
Yeah,
And so yeah,
Okay, and then the red glowing eyes, and it said you felt a little bit entranced, and then so sad part, you were 6 years old, so obviously I'm not gonna lie, any 6 year old seeing this is more like pee their pants, and there's a lot of people in their adults that would see this and probably pee their pants. So
oh sure, sure,
I mean, yeah,
yeah,
it's not
absolutely,
every day you see like a giant, canine
yeah.
creature with white fur and red
Yeah,
eyes
and
staring at you.
and like I said, with the windowsill being about 7 foot up off the ground, and then this thing, from its neck up was above that. I mean, this thing had to be like 8.5 foot tall.
Yeah,
You know,
sounds like a dog man.
yeah, in a lot of ways, in a lot of ways. So I mean, I really honestly don't know a whole lot of differences, between Dogman and Werewolf, honestly.
You know,
Um,
so the all right. So the only difference they have so far is that Dogman is stays in that shape the whole entire time. It doesn't.
okay.
It's what it is. It's a dog man. What you saw is what it looks like 24/7. A
Yeah,
werewolf
yeah.
is a man or a
It
woman who
transforms.
transforms into a wolf and then transforms back under the full moon and stuff like that. So
Yeah,
that's where
yeah.
that comes in at. So with the werewolf the dog man thing is kind of hard to separate. Well, not necessarily hard to separate, but when you see one, you don't know what you're seeing. So
Yeah.
everybody generalized to just put it into a no one category of the dog man.
Right. So let me ask you this. Dogman, I mean, is that pretty much like a man that's just exceptionally hairy?
No, actually, so dogmen have been portrayed throughout history. I did a really neat a dive into them last year in the first season, and because Dogman's fascinated me. Dogman's been
Mm-hmm.
featured. It started with a werewolf. Actually, I was trying to
Mm-hmm.
do a werewolf thing, and I went into Dogman instead. So
Mm-hmm.
there has to be some correlation between the Dogman and between werewolves, but.
Mm-hmm.
Dogman have been featured everywhere. The most famous one is obviously going to be Anubis. Okay,
Uh-huh. Right.
right,
Right.
and to where even that story, and I don't have the notes off the top of my head, but Anubis they led. There was a city in Egypt that was full of these dog-headed creatures, and
Right.
what it is, it's called the dog man per se because it's upright.
Right.
So anything upright that walks on two legs we consider mannish, which
Right.
is human. So
Yeah.
that's where
Humanoid.
yeah, is humanoid. So that's where the dog man term comes from, and
Mm-hmm.
yeah. But Anubis, then Marco Polo reported an island full of them. That they've been
Wow.
featured all over the world in every culture. They're
Mm-hmm.
the most obviously the other famous one that we have is the one the wolf of the Beast of Bray Road, which
Mm-hmm.
is up north of us. So, and that's where that one comes around every 7 years. Um,
Mm-hmm.
so yeah, that's where it's at.
Yeah, that's really interesting. Yeah. So yeah, the transformational aspects of the werewolf itself. I guess at the end of the day, it's like Dogman and Werewolf, in my mind, are kind of very very similar in their features. So from your research on the Dogman. Do you remember like any kind of details,
It varies
about how?
from culture to culture.
Yeah. Oh, does it? Okay.
Yeah,
Very
so like
interesting.
in Egypt, they're wolf headed. So they
Hmm.
were initially thinking that Anubis was a jackal headed, but it's not. There was actually a wolf that's extinct now
Hmm.
that lived, and they found mummified remains of these wolves that
Uh-huh.
lived back in ancient Egypt times. And so
Hmm.
that's what it is. It's the head of a wolf. So Anubis was a wolf headed god and not a jackal headed
Hmm.
god. That narrative's
Right.
been changed, but a lot of us are taught in school jackal headed. So you
Hmm.
have accounts where it's just an animal head, human body.
Yeah.
Other accounts where it's like a wolf that walks around on its hind legs.
Hmm.
With
Hmm.
everything that is a wolf. Then you have
Right.
other accounts where they can drop down and run on all fours. Marco Polo described them as a culture of, and he described them as average height. Nothing significant about their height other than the fact they were wolves. They were dog men.
Yeah.
These
Yeah.
these big creatures. Saint
Hmm.
Christopher was a dog man, actually.
Interesting.
Yes, Saint Christopher was a dog man. He came out of Syria. I can't remember the name of the town off of my head. He came out of Syria. When he heard the teachings of Jesus, he ended up following. Jesus already,
Hmm.
had already been passed away at this point in time. So
Yeah.
Saint Christopher heard the teachings of Jesus and ended up becoming baptized. And when he became
Hmm.
baptized as a Christian, is when he turned into a man.
Right. Oh, wow. What a
So
legend.
yeah, and that's, I mean, it's right there. So Saint Christopher was a dog man. So there's a
Yeah.
lot to
Very.
unpack there. We could turn the whole episode into what a dog man is or isn't.
Yeah. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
have never encountered a dog man. I had a
Hmm.
soldier when I was in the service that told me a story of one. And my mind,
Hmm.
again, like yours, oh, it's a werewolves, okay.
Hmm. Hmm.
But what's funny though is this. So the Navajos, for them, the ceremony to turn into a skinwalker is
Hmm.
eerily similar to medieval Europe, their accounts of how to turn to a werewolf.
Hmm.
So you have two cultures, opposite
Yep.
sides of the
I've seen
planet,
those.
who,
I've seen these kinds of rituals that, yeah, claim that. Yes.
yeah. Now the thing is that nobody truly knows the Navajo way of turning to a skinwalker. They've given us some hints, but they've never said, okay, you do this, you have to do that, stand on this foot, raise this pinky up.
Hmm.
They haven't
Right.
done
Right.
any of that. So
Hmm.
that we do not exactly know, but from what we have learned and what we do know, what we've learned from the Navajos and what we do know from medieval Europe, eerily similar. So there's
Yeah.
something
Yeah.
to this transformation process. So I do think at some point in time there were werewolves. And I do think there may be some nowadays
Hmm.
smaller clans, probably not as big as Hollywood would make us believe, but
Right.
there are, I do believe, that potentially could be, I mean, werewolves out there. The ceremony that
Absolutely.
transforms you into it, and then you come out of it as well. So,
Right.
yep.
Right. Well, it's one of those things too. That I don't know. I mean, I'm kind of seeing kind of like a bigger, I don't know, a picture almost of what's called the genius loci, which is the spirit of the land, the local land. Every region has that, and so this particular plot of land, like I said, was so laden with these energies, of supernatural, so it kind of takes me to the philosophy that it's almost like it was hospitable in a way, for lack of a better term, for these kinds of creatures to exist, you know, like we were talking before the show a little bit about the Wendigo, and that region, is hospitable for that kind of a cryptid to exist. So I'm kind of seeing the area, the energy of the area being like a magnet, I guess, or spawning even these types of cryptids to exist. So
No, I agree with you.
it's
I do think there's a lot of regional to it, but
yeah.
I think there's a lot of similarities too between all of them. Like when it
Hmm.
comes to Sasquatch, I mean, everybody calls it. There's every region has a different name for it.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah,
I mean,
right.
yeah, it's everywhere. So
Hmm.
you know,
Yeah,
same thing. Like the Wendigo, is tied into could be tied into vampires.
yeah,
To a
yeah.
point, and so there's,
Hmm.
I mean,
There's so much, like, the I don't know, in the in the esoteric world, there are these, what we would call cryptids, but I believe in reality, they're a manifestation of that kind of spirit. And, so I learned, that a lot of times when you'll see these cryptids, if they have like these red eyes, like some of them do, they are projections from the astral realm. So it's almost like, in occultic studies, you'll learn a lot of techniques about, how to develop your astral body and your ability and all that kind of stuff in the astral world. And, so I've heard different theories. And one of the theories that kind of stuck with me was the red eyes is kind of an indicator of when a spirit force of spirit, is manifested, on the earth plane. So that's, like I said, that's just one of many theories, but that one kind of stuck with me a little bit for sure.
it's good theory.
Hmm.
I mean, it's definitely a good
Hmm.
theory, but I mean, you could be there could be something to it too.
Yeah.
I'm not an expert. I'm here to discuss all the theories. So,
The more we learn, the more we realize how much we don't know.
yeah, I feel that way every day. So,
Uh huh.
well, Nick, okay, so did this thing ever come back though?
No, no, it did not. I didn't. I never had an experience, with that, werewolf, creature again. Um, so I was there in that land, till I was about 14. And so, yeah, it was just a one-time experience that I had growing up. So yeah, but other experiences, supernatural experiences, were commonplace. They, because like I said, the land itself was so haunted. It was nothing to see like an apparition, gliding across a dry, dusty cornfield, making no dust. I mean, literally, it would just glide all the way across this cornfield for hundreds of feet until it went around behind a barn kind of thing and into the woods. But, so, you learn, there's different kinds of, apparitional manifestations. Some are simply, imprints that are laid up on the land, you know, and others are much more, directed and present and interactive. So all kinds of different things going on with that.
What a crazy area.
Yeah, yeah,
I kind of have my
for
own
sure, for
theory.
sure.
I have my own theory on when it comes to ghosts, but that's for a whole nother show. So,
Oh, sure, sure.
all right. So what
Yeah.
else has happened to you? What else you got for us?
Well, again, in the formative years, there was an experience to where, I'm sitting up front. I guess I might have been like maybe 7 or 8 years old, and, I'm watching TV, and the way our living room was situated
Okay,
in
so
the
this is
middle of the house.
hold on. So this is the same house
Mhm.
that you had the Dogman show
Yeah,
up at?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
All right,
Hmm.
carry on.
Yeah,
All right.
absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, I'm watching TV, and our hallways, like the TV is right in front of the hallway that goes back towards the bedrooms and stuff. And, I remember seeing a manifestation, literally materializing in front of me at the right beside the TV and right in front of that hallway. It was like, I don't know, like an old man kind of head, bald on the top, long hair on the sides, It's very old, and it was manifesting. And as it manifested, it took on much more demonic shaping. I mean, like the carnivore teeth, the menacing red eyes kind of thing. Or actually, yeah, oh yeah, you're right. Menacing red eyes, and so it literally like half its body just kind of materialized, and then that's when I was like, too bad I can't stay, and got the hell out of there. So so
So
that was another experience.
so this thing just like materialized like right beside you,
Yeah, like 6 foot from me. Yeah,
and red
yeah,
eyes again, glowing red eyes again.
yes, yes, yes,
Uh,
yes, yeah, yeah. And I mean, like I said, it was a crazy manifestation of this apparition. I mean, it's just the land, man. It was just so haunted. Um, I'll tell you another altering experience. I used to, love as a kid. I'd love to explore the woods. I had a dirt bike, and I'd go off in the woods and literally be gone all day. And I came across a lot of old homesteads, in the middle of the woods, that were like burnt down, and the only thing left might have been the chimney and the well of that house, except for the foundational blocks. Um, and it was not unusual to hear screams and things like that coming out of the old stone wells that were on these properties. Um, so I mean, you could be like driving by or parked or whatever, and they were so loud you could literally hear them from a good distance away. And you go to investigate, get closer to that sound, and this is what you find. You find that old homestead in the middle of nowhere, in the middle of the woods, and yeah, so there was a lot of that kind of thing. Multiple houses actually had that kind of, I guess you could say, tuning into it. It was a very tuning into the spirits of that area. Very terrified, tormented, kind of wailing. That was occurring that we could literally hear audibly. Um, that kind of had a little bit of an echo to it. It was crazy, crazy, crazy.
yeah, I think that a lot of areas, for some reason, the more violence that takes place
Hmm.
over and over and over again, it can leave almost like an emotional scar on there.
Yeah, yeah.
And it's
I think that emotional scar, literally, when you experience it enough, it still triggers that base human instinct of fight or flight. You know.
definitely
So
no, I agree. I agree 100%. You know,
yeah,
what about so on that token too, though? I mean, the apparition appear. That's just kind of that'd be creepy. I'm not gonna lie. Kind of transforming into like something kind of evil. But I like the way you just said, "Nope, I'm
yeah.
out of there."
And yeah, and and I wasn't raised, to where I was watching these horror shows. I mean, this is like the mid to late '70s. So I wasn't really raised watching all these kinds of shows. So it was nothing that was like pre-imprinted in my mind. I mean, so these experiences were literally coming from a clean slate in my consciousness, to witnessing these events. And then you get older, and then Hollywood starts running their thing with it, and you start seeing it, and end up laughing at Hollywood a little bit, but because they got to make it more, everything.
Well, they make their money. Yeah, I also think that a lot of
Yes.
Hollywood could be like a lot of soft disclosure too.
Yeah, 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 yeah. I could see that for sure. And just taking account of, like you were saying earlier, how these legends of the land, are in various spots, throughout the world. When you learn that, it is really kind of, in a way, almost like a reassurance, because you're not alone, with these kinds of experiences. Because you got all kinds of legends and lore that you learn about. And after a while, it becomes like, okay, this is a thing. So, one of the best things that I guess that kind of set me on my path of learning esoteric knowledge. And, so kind of going into our own being, and so much that's not taught when you go to church. I mean, I grew up going to a Baptist church, and it was the old Southern Baptist church, very, very dogmatic. And, so I never forget living in that same era. I was about 8 at this time. And I remember my mother she was doing some kitchen work in the basement of the church. And she had like thrown out her shoulder really bad, or sprained her shoulder or something really bad. And without thinking about it, I literally started doing laying on of hands. And as I did that, I felt this, I'll describe it as elevated chi. It's this life force energy that as I'm placing my hands on my mother's shoulder, instinctively, my mind, I started going into like a really deep heart space prayer. And when I'm doing that, I've learned that, I've elevated my consciousness. And as my consciousness is elevated, that's the kind of chi that flows through your hands when you're doing an esoteric healing, like energy healing. It's the elevated chi that lifts up the vibration of where that ailment is in the body. So, all these supernatural events, tying into together, it just really woke me up to how supernatural life really is. You know, it just sets you on that path, and you have an open mind, and then you have these experiences that back it up, and life is truly miraculous, and so many more ways than we've ever been taught.
No, I agree. Let's go to the laying of hands real quick.
Uh-huh.
So, I mean, you just decide to lay hands? I mean, on your.
It was an instinct. Yeah, it was an instinct. You know without knowing. I guess it's kind of like the difference between religion and spirituality, right? So religion is kind of like the art of believing, right? And spirituality is like the art of knowing, right? You just know.
Yeah.
Um, so there's a big difference between the two. But as a child, I was able to tap into that space of not even knowing what I knew. It's just the way I was born. Not even knowing what I knew, I just instinctively placed my hands on my mom's shoulder and started doing that kind of elevated prayer. And the prayer isn't like the traditional Our Father, although there is a lot of power in that, but it wasn't like that. It was more of an esoteric knowingness of envisioning the now and seeing almost this vision of that elevated chi um, healing or performing the task of aligning or correcting the wound, or um, the scar, or whatever you want to call it. Because a lot of times you'll do energy work and trauma work, and things like that, to where when you experience these things with our body and our auric field, being made up of energy, as physics says, 99% empty space, right?
Yep.
So now, if you think about that, a lot of people, I'm sure, will understand about chakra systems. And, when you look at these wheels of light, they are literally mentalities, different ways of thinking about certain subjects, right? So each chakra wheel has its programmed function, right? And when you experience a trauma, A lot of times as your energy flows through your chakra systems and flows out and forms your aura around you, a lot of times the trauma will leave an imprint in your energy field. And, whether it starts with a mentality, something horrible that you witnessed, for example, you can literally ease the pain, if not completely transcend the energy behind that thought. So when you're doing energy medicine, whether it be Reiki or laying on of hands or whatever the modality is, crystals or what have you, what you're trying to do is you're trying to smooth out and correct that thought. And by correct, I don't mean like, it's bad or it was a learning experience, but to see it as anything other than a learning experience, you can't talk about it. You choke up, you freeze up, But when you graduate your thinking into the learning experience and what you learn from it and how ultimately it served into you becoming a greater version of yourself because of some strength that you discovered because that happened to you. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Do you think in any way, shape, or form, maybe God could be working through you or something?
Yeah, well, yeah, absolutely right. I mean, I believe as far as God goes, I mean, the way that I envision it, that works for me, is like this creator energy. I mean, I almost envision it like an ocean of creation energy. And, so as every human being is as a river or a creek or a stream, depending on how plugged in you are with communion, that relationship, I guess, is the communion. And, so I learned that when I'm doing the laying on of hands, to bring that back to that, what I'm doing is I'm actually communing with creator energy, and I'm opening up myself, physically making a like a mental declaration, as I release my vessel to the powers of God to flow through me and make the miracles of God manifest in the world of the human, so it's like an affirmation kind of thing. And when I'm doing that, I'm doing that. And then what happens is I become a channel for like holy energies, elevated chi, call it what you will, to flow through me as a channel, like a divine priest kind of thing. And, it seems like the older I get, the more I'm able to commune. And I believe, in my heart space, I believe that's what Jesus, taught, to commune with, your heavenly father or the creator, or, call it whatever label you want, great spirit. But it's all that God energy that, is manifest everywhere, good, bad, or indifferent. And these are experiences that we have. And ultimately, I believe that the philosophy, it kind of goes into the stages of as God experiences or the universe experiences itself through you having these experiences, because you are unique. Your experiences are unique, and it's what makes you who you are as a unique individual that you are, you know.
Yeah, I can see that. Seriously,
Mhm.
I can see that. So, all right, were you able to help your mom out though after you got done
Oh
laying the
yeah,
hand?
yeah, yeah,
Okay.
yeah, yeah. She was I mean her eyes were like as big as saucers, you know. She had a hard time, but she was open. She was an open-minded, individual. And, she, I mean, was literally, whenever a person does that, they're tapping into a Holy Spirit within themselves. And, so she recognized that, you know, and, it literally, it, it transformed, um, that literally sprained shoulder. It transformed it and relaxed it so much to where it's almost like the pain itself just vanished, and I think that every energy healer or every healer in shaman traditions or what have you, I believe that each practitioner has their own unique gifts. So, like for me, my thing has always been to alleviate pain. And so removing the pain from the individual, like I'll always get markers, whenever a person comes in and wants me to do that, I'll always get these markers like, okay, where's your pain at now? And then, I'll do my thing and then I'll ask them, during the session or about 10 minutes into the session or whatever, I'll ask them, where's your pain at now? It'll literally go from like the most unbearable pain down to like a one. And I'm literally barely touching them. I'm literally placing, finger placements maybe on certain areas of their body, just to kind of, I guess, channel that elevated chi into these regions. But the pain markers that I've gotten over the years, it makes me like step back and be like, wow, the power of creator that flows through me. It's not me, it's literally releasing my vessel into a higher power and surrendering it. So yeah, it's quite extraordinary, just to step back and just see how, we all can do this. And these are the things that I mean, I call it Master Christ, it's that power of Christ, which is that love energy. It's that compassion energy. It's, it's from that elevated state of mind that love begets, and that energy transcends so much, especially when we're in communion with creator, source, whatever you want to call it. So yeah, it's a thing for sure.
That's kind of cool. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
interviewed a lady by the name Marita, and she uses angels to help her in her healing.
Hmm.
So
Yeah.
that's kind of cool. So I've had two healers on here.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
like that.
And the angelic energy, is another kind of a, I don't know, it's a science unto itself. But all of these, um, I guess, extrasensory, extra ability type of thing, it's like the one thing that this world, through you know, the conditioning and the programming and the fear base and like the CIA's Mockingbird thing, programming the masses, to think a certain way. Um, you know, it's almost like we get so programmed into a certain way of thinking that's like anti-spirit. It's like so many people they might like brush up against the subject, but it's few that can really dive in deep. You know, and I think that there's been so much conditioning in this world. That's why I'm so grateful to the platform that you provide, because it does open minds. It does create a connection amongst the masses of people to realize and wake up that that mysterious um, power of God is really, it's a science. It's a science of prayer. It's a science of communion, and it's a science of letting go. You know, and faith. And allowing these energies to flow through in such a way that lifts and serves other people. So that's the way that it flows through me anyway. And but I don't know, as far as the spiritual energies go, I've learned it's very neutral. I mean, it's like a handgun analogy. The person behind it is what makes it good or evil, right?
Yeah,
And so it's the same kind of analogy that would apply to creation energy. It's almost like this neutral force, and your consciousness decides how you want to channel that force, whether it's malevolent, self-serving, narcissistic kind of endeavors of dark applications, or more of an enlightening, growing. I refer to it as a golden glow, when that Christ spirit comes in through you, kind of direction. So your consciousness and your free will, you choose, the way that you want to direct those energies. Because, I mean, if you've done any kind of occult study, and these rituals that we were talking earlier from different cultures around the world of, like this ritual, will embody the energies of transforming into a werewolf, for example. It's literally taking that same energy and the power that our consciousness truly is, and being able to, I don't know, expel that force out of you in such a way that it causes transformation, whether it's a physical transformation, as in like laying on of hands and healing the sick, as Jesus taught, or making multiple loaves of bread out of 2 loaves. I mean, there's so many applications for that kind of science, of focused thought and communion, and the ability to be of service to others. And I think that when you align yourself into a direction of service, miracles happen every day. I mean, it's a different kind of world. But that doesn't mean that you're without your challenges personally. It's like a lot of people will get this notion in their mind that, like being an energy healer, it's like, well, you must have everything all figured out. You don't, how can you be an energy healer if you're going through all these challenges? Well, I'm a human being and I'm growing, and as I grow, so too does my communion with Creator grow. And, so a lot of people haven't gone into that as much as they need to before they judge and just write it off as, crazy thinking or whatever. But I've seen it, I've seen it that every shaman, will go through these shamanic deaths, for example. They'll have these shamanic deaths on a sometimes a very physical way, emotional way, mental way, and spiritual way. All of these things have their own kind of symbolic deaths, to where you're literally reinvented after that experience. And the perspective is so key in being able to evolve or devolve. That makes any sense.
It does. No, absolutely does. And
So,
I think that, like, as I was saying before, a lot of the supernatural has been taken out of church. I think that a lot of the old school beliefs have been taken out, and a lot of people view, our ancestors as being dumb. And that's far from the case. I mean, they built cities.
oh yeah,
I mean, they did.
absolutely.
I mean, it's seriously. I mean, they built.
Ecological marvels.
Yes, and so they're not retarded. They weren't dumb.
Right.
And
Right.
it drives me nuts. But we've been led to believe this due to, I'm going to go off of England. Nothing against my English listeners. I love you guys, my English buddies. But so, and the only reason I'm saying that is because when England went out into the world, okay.
hmm
And they were exploring and they were, conquering. I mean, that's what, you did. They would go to these, far reaches of the world, and they would encounter these natives. And they were like, okay, they were so, different culturally that they looked down upon them. And of course, you don't ever want to read some of these reports because, I mean, the language they use and what they call them is absolutely atrocious.
Right.
But these people
Right.
who've lived on this land for years and generations, they
hmm
know the land, they know the animals, they know the seasons, they
Right.
know what happens.
Right.
They
They are
call them,
tuned in.
yeah, they call them idiots. They call them,
Yeah.
we've heard the term before, backwoods. We've called them,
hmm
I mean, a whole bunch of names,
hmm
savages,
Right. 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 Right.
So that we've been led to believe that people before us weren't that smart, that we're smarter than the generation before us. And the
Right.
generation, and the generation after us will allegedly be smarter than us. And I
Hmm.
disagree.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and that's proven too, because I mean, you look at like the what is that temple that has all these? mysteries around Tibete or something. Um, the name escapes me, but it was like they had so many kinds of like ingenious solutions for like irrigation systems or acoustic systems. You know, like the church and how the church would take these literal mathematical formula of an acoustic building, um, that they would basically steal that to make their cathedrals and stuff like that to emulate this ancient technology that's thousands of years old. And now, the only place you can go to receive those kinds of resonant acoustic energies is got to have the Church of Christ, or the Catholic involvement in the construction and all that, just to promote their way of thinking. But it's a stolen technology, and then they give no credit to where it came from, you know.
Well, yeah.
So,
Well, like we can't duplicate. They cannot build the pyramids like
right,
the pyramids are built. They can't
right,
do it. I mean, there was a
right.
Chinese company, I believe, that tried it in the '70s, couldn't do it.
Hmm.
And there's a lot of, you know, architectural wonders out there that these ancient people built. That so
Hmm.
begin. I mean, I'm getting off the point here, which is
Hmm.
easy to do. ADHD. So it's yeah.
Well, I mean, it's such a fascinating subject that leads off into so many other things.
Well, and that's the thing
It's
is, and I warn
it's
everybody.
fascinating.
Yeah, and I try and warn everybody. Like once you start going down to, you know, I reached out to Alan over there at Nevermore Hollows podcast the other day about a potential
Hmm.
cryptid thing, and I was stumped on it. I was trying to figure
Hmm.
out, what this could be. And I had some
Right.
ideas, and I just kind of wanted a fresh set of eyes on it. And so I reached out, talked to him
Yeah.
for a little bit, and kind of gave him, as much detail as I could. And he texted me back today, and he goes, "Hey man, I feel bad. This is where I went with it." And I was like, "Okay, you and me went down the same rabbit holes, okay, which is scary,
Hmm.
you know."
Hmm.
And but it will. And once you start on one rabbit hole, it seems like that rabbit hole will take you to five other ones, and
Oh,
then
it does.
one of those will
Yeah.
take you to 10 more, and then to 20
Oh, yeah.
more. And I tell everybody,
Yep.
when you're looking for trying to dig up Bigfoot and going down the rabbit holes for him, you're going to end up on a rabbit hole that talks about how, Bigfoot's running around a UFO with little green men, not little gray, but little green men, hanging out with Elvis and Tupac, and they're running over the 7-Eleven to catch their night shift because that's where they work at. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, it's,
Yeah. And that rabbit hole can very easily blend off into the reptilians and how they've been here, and
oh, that's a whole other
just so many
episode
other.
right there. That's a whole other episode right there.
Yes, exactly. And but it's the rabbit hole.
It is. It's like, yeah. And then boom, you're giant praying mantises, and you know,
Yeah.
and that's just the thing. And so this whole topic is great. It's a lot of fun. Um, but also on the other side of it, on the encounter side too, though, that's
Hmm.
where like with my encounter that I had at Fort Hood, it checked off a lot of boxes of what it could be, and for years I spent trying to figure it out, trying to look into it. And I once I would think I had an idea, boom, it would change. And once I had another idea, oop, it would change again. So,
Right.
I talked with Justin at Cryptids of the Corn podcast, which, by the way, we're doing a live show with them on April 5th here
Sweet. Sweet.
in North Little Rock. Tickets are for sale. It's going to be at
Hmm.
Old Bart's, 600 North Main Street in North Little Rock. They'll have the full menu available for everybody to order off on their dime. But no, but me and him talked about my encounter, and he brought in a new perspective to it that I didn't think of. So,
Hmm.
which was really great. And
Hmm.
of course, that could be it too, So, but we have gone over an hour. I can tell you that right now. So
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
we gotta start getting ready to bring in for a landing here in a second. So,
Yes.
well, let me ask you a question then. So, Nick, I mean, I do want to go back to your very first one of the Dogman. And
Yes.
for some reason, that just is jumping out at me. And this is the
Uh-huh.
beginning of you into the world of the paranormal.
Yes.
And But nothing ever since that night. I mean, nothing in that house
Well,
again with the
not
dog man.
right, not with the kind of werewolf encounter that I had. Right. Yeah,
I can
that
tell.
was
I can tell you're my
the starting.
generation. I can tell you're my generation because you call it a werewolf.
Yeah, yeah. Right, 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 right. Absolutely. Yeah. So yeah, I mean that's just yeah, in my mind, that's what it'll always be for sure.
Yeah, but so nothing after nothing since then. That was just the only time.
With that kind of encounter, right, right. That was the only time. But then like I said, as far as supernatural, it's such a wide open, diverse body of knowledge, I've had other experiences to where I would like perform clearings, and as I would, like clear the house, I would have encounters, whether it be shadow people or demonic entities themselves.
Well, let me ask you a question
Yeah,
since you brought up shadow people real quick. Not to cut you off, but you brought
yeah,
it up real quick.
yeah,
So, so you've had shadow people encounters.
yes.
What do you think they are?
Good question. Um, I, it's almost like they're their own kind of species, you know, and so they occupy that space of darkness. Um, but as far as uh, going into, the motivations, I know a lot of times from what I've experienced is they will very much like I was talking earlier about energy medicine and how when you have a trauma imprinted into your auric field or into your mind, it's like I think they tie in a lot with servants of archonic energy, if you know about archons.
I
So
do,
I
but
think that
elaborate for the audience.
archonic energy, the way that I've experienced the archonic energy is like messengers, in a way, to where it's almost like on the light side of things, you have these angels, which are messengers of creator to you. Archonic is messengers of the dark, the opposite opposing duality force of darkness. So my understanding is that the archonic energies are like these astral parasites that you might hear about. And they will literally, their programmed function is to keep your energy in a traumatic state and to keep you in a shell, to where, you're not, they erode your confidence in certain areas, until you learn how to break free from the kind of thinking that they want you to be in. They want you to be in a low vibe, low energy state. It's like a puppet master, on like if you have this, let's just give it a figure of like this devil that is pulling strings. Okay. And he's pulling strings in a very orchestrated, deliberate way to keep you in confusion, to keep you in low energy, and things like that. And, so I've experienced, shadow people being a lot more present when you're in a, say, dysfunctional area. It's like, say some slum somewhere, right? You're going to encounter a lot more shadow people. Um, so, there is an association there. But I've also heard, different tales of shadow people, and I'm not quite sure what to make of this, but it's almost like in every species, like we are human beings, there might be, Andromedans or Arturians or whatever alien species. It's like in every expression of consciousness, you're going to have the same kind of, like reptilians, for example, very warlike, very chaotic, dominating, controlling kind of species. But then you might have a reptilian that may not be all about that, you know. So I'm saying that because a few instances I've encountered knowledge of shadow people in that same kind of philosophy, where it's almost like they're raised to be this dark force, or in collaboration with this dark force, but yet, just like any other species, you will have um, another or an individual, I guess, outside of the hive mind that thinks differently. You know, so I think the shadow people are their own race, their own species, kind of like the Djinn. They're their own dimension of existence. You know, does that
Okay.
answer your question?
Well, I mean, I have my theory, so that's why I was kind of curious about,
Yeah, yeah.
and my
I'd be
theory,
interested to hear yours.
yeah. So my theory, and this is just from my own encounters with them, I
Hmm.
think they're peeping toms,
Yeah.
and the reason why I say that is every encounter that I've had, and about 90% of them, if not more, encounters out there, as soon as you see it, it runs away. If it's peeking at you from around the corner, as soon as it notices you seeing it, it runs away. It doesn't stand its ground. It's like, oh, I'm peeking at you. Oh, he sees me, he runs and hides.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's kind
Yeah.
of referred to them as peeping toms. And
Yeah.
you
Yeah. I can
know,
see that.
now only one encounter that I had, and it wasn't necessarily a shadow person. It was a kind of a deep maroon color of thing, and it did not run away when I acknowledged it. It was like, hey, what's up, dude? I'm looking at you.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
looking at you. So that
Yeah.
one
Right.
that one creeped me out more than, the shadow just darting away from me. That one creeped me out more than, yeah, it's and like I said, I've seen, I've seen a handful of them in my lifetime. So that's just my theory on
Hmm.
them. I think they're peeping toms.
Hmm.
I think they're cowards. But that's just me. Now, some people have had some encounters with them that, you know, horrifying.
Sure. Sure. And that theory, would explain why they're reportedly so skittish. You know, very, very skittish. I've heard of that many, many times. But they live in the dark. They live in the shadow. So their very nature is not to be seen. So peeping Tom, sure, that would be a good analogy.
They just, yeah, like I said, we're sitting around hanging at the tavern one night, and I was like, hey, they're peeping toms. Let's do an episode. And that's where I went
Right.
with that
That's
one.
funny.
So yeah, there's
Uh,
there's the peeping tom episode out there somewhere. It's yeah, I can't remember which one it was, but we were getting to the shadow people and doing encounters, and I was just like, yeah, I just feel like every encounter most people have, or just they see them and they go. But you're very right. They are out in the darkness. They are part of that. Maybe that's their nature is to be peeping tom and hide and just be in the shadows,
yeah,
which is kind of creepy. I'm just
exactly.
saying. So,
It is. It is absolutely creepy. It is.
ugh.
So yeah, I would agree.
All right. Well, Nick, we got to wrap this up, buddy. I got to bring this in for a landing.
Yes.
I
Yeah.
do have
Like I
some other
said, man, we could go
ideas.
for hours.
I do. I do. I probably will reach out. We'll probably get something set up. I have a busy February, so the next month for
Uh-huh.
me is going to be very bit busy. Then the first part of March and all that other good stuff, though. But yeah, I am
Hmm.
doing a live show. This is for the audience as well. I talked about in the intro, but it's going to be the tickets are on sale in the description. They are going fast. I know that much. It
Hmm.
is coming up pretty quick. So it's going to
Hmm.
be Drunken Cryptids and the Cryptids of the Corn podcast. It's
Uh-huh.
going to be an hour and a half of Cryptids of the Corn and their topic. It's going to be an hour and a half of me and my special guest. So, of course, there'll be a full menu and it's a brewery too. So there'll be beers there. You can
Oh
hang
yeah.
out, drink some beers with us. The food in there is amazing. You have to try it. They made a Drunken Cryptid cheeseburger.
Uh-huh.
So you have to try it. It's
That's
great.
funny.
It,
You have your own burger named after you.
Paul down there is great. I love Old Bart. So I'm not gonna lie. I love Old Bart's.
That is great.
I do. It's a great place. So yeah, it's a lot of fun. So we're actually recording episodes while we're gonna be there. So it's gonna be from
Okay.
5 to 9. So
Okay.
yeah, definitely let me know you want tickets. I will send you the link so you can get some tickets. And
Yeah, please
yeah,
do.
oh yeah, definitely. Okay, I can do that. Let's see here. Trying to think what else. Like, yeah, but no, man, yeah, we'll get together though. Again, I will be back up there at the Monkey on the 11th. So swing on by and we'll get some
Yeah, I look forward to it.
other stuff going. So, well, Nick, I appreciate you coming on the show tonight, man. I had a lot of fun, and the Dogman encounter that you had, I'm yeah, 8 feet tall. I mean, but you know what though? You hear about that though. You hear that they are about between 6 and 8 feet tall. So
Really? Okay. Okay.
yeah, Dogmen aren't small. Again, you got to go back to off to the basis of Anubis and everything, and
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, it's like I said. Once you start going down that rabbit hole, it's pretty crazy. You'll have to look into.
But if you look at it though, I mean, look at our species. I mean, we're anywhere from 5 foot tall to 6.5, 7 foot tall.
Yeah, then you start getting me on giants, and we don't want to do that. Okay, because
Yeah. Right.
I'll
Right.
be
Right.
on that topic for another hour and a half.
Absolutely. I'll be right there with you.
Sweet. All right, Nick, man, I appreciate you again, buddy.
Absolutely. It's been a pleasure.
All
Thank
right.
you.
And everybody else out there, if you've had an encounter and you want to come on the show, email me, drunkencryptids@gmail.com. Google us. Yeah, please do. Google us. Go to the website. Check out the beautiful website that Dylan made for us at Blade Media. Follow us on our social media platforms. We're out there. There'll be some bigger news coming up for expeditions for yours truly. Also, so make sure you follow the Facebook page. We post a lot of things there, Instagram and X as well. So until next time, y'all keep it spooky. Y'all stay safe. Have a good one.
I'm the king of the world. I can do anything that I want. I can do anything that I want now. I can do anything that